But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
All right, nice little video, 6 minutes. If you need to show it to somebody, it's on YouTube. FBI just made a video. I just found it when I was pulling the stats for this update the PowerPoint. It's a really good video. They do basically the same thing, but it's in a bar, like a restaurant bar type of thing. So it's just showing a different environment. But that's open to anybody, and it's on the FBI's website under any kind of the active shooter training material. All right, run. Honestly, you could be facing a situation that you might have to fight first. You know, depending on what's happening. It's not in order. It's not in chronological order that you run first and then hide and fight. It's whatever option you think is best when you have to make a decision. The shooter could be right outside your door. The shooter could be right in front of you. The shooter could be across the building and down the hall, away from you. All right. So you need to make a decision based on the situation as it's occurring to you. And you need to make that decision what's safe for you to do, what you think is the right thing to do. As you saw in the video, if people don't want or they lock up and they freeze, do the best you can, but save yourself. I hate to say that, it sounds selfish, but we want to minimize casualties. We want to minimize the chaos. Do the best you can, but at the end, you need to get out. You need to figure out what you need to do. Running is usually going to be the best thing. If you're not in the area, then you can't be a victim. That makes sense to everybody, right? If you can't run, then you need to hide. All right, how do you hide? Remember I talked about situational awareness? Where are the rooms in the areas in your facilities where you know the door can be locked and barricaded into a sturdy door? That should already be in your head. No matter where you work, where you go, where can I go? How do I get out? And where can I hide? Once you get in there and lock the door, you need to barricade. All right? Drywall doesn't stop bullets. Right? Not only that, but what if they try to breach the door? So you want to try to barricade. You want to make it as hard as possible. All right? You want to harden that target yourself as a target as much as possible. You saw in the video, he's trying doors, right? Lock this next one. Right? He wants an easy target. They want to have as much chaos and casualties as possible in the shortest amount of time. I don't know if you guys remember the active shooter incident that happened in New Zealand a couple of years back. He went to a mosque and he shot up. He had a GoPro. It was on YouTube for a little bit until they took it down. I was fortunate and unfortunate to actually see that video. Somebody else had sent me a message and said, watch this. As a trainer instructor, I watched it. It was horrifying. But one thing a couple of us picked up out of that, when he was going through the mosque, he not once tried one door. I don't even know if they're locked. He saw the doors closed and just passed it. But what he did do, when he went in a big open area like this, and all the people that there that worship, they all went in a corner. He just sat in the middle of the room. There's two corners, and people just huddled up, and he just sat there and shot, reloaded, and shot. It was absolutely horrifying. They had zero survivability. Zero. If you would have done something, your survivability would have been higher. All right? So run. You need to run if you can run. Get out of there. All right? And run until you feel safe. I know facilities have their protocols. You have safe areas. I don't know what your specifics are. You address them to your security staff. I tell folks, you run until you feel safe. If that's at Applebee's for happy hour, I don't care. You run until you feel safe. Until you're home, until you're at a police station, wherever you feel safe, you keep running. We'll find you later. All right? The biggest thing is about surviving. It's about surviving, okay? Do what you can. I know some of this is saying, don't help people. Listen, you knock somebody down, please help them up. All right? This isn't a, every man for himself kind of situation. They're just trying to relay the point. Listen, don't sacrifice yourself for somebody else that doesn't want to. They're making their own decision. You make yours, okay? Some of the things you talk about, what you should do for us responding, I'll get into that a little bit later, is, as police are responding, you want to make yourself as non-threatening as possible. Remember I said they're probably going to be one of you. The shooter's going to be one of you. Especially here, right? On a drill weekend, everyone's kind of wearing the same thing, right? How are we supposed to tell? What we're looking for is hands, and we're looking for guns, right? So make yourself as non-threatening as possible as first responders are coming. We have to evaluate, is this a threat or not, as we're moving through and passing. Follow police instructions. Now's not the time to argue. Follow instructions and where you go. You typically, I'm going to tell you, if we're coming from that direction, it's pretty relatively safe. That's the place you want to go, is the way we came. Because we're going to be running to it, go the way we came, or we'll tell you where to go. Okay? Call 911 when safe. Don't sit there and watch the shooting happen and call 911. Get somewhere safe and then call 911. Remember, we're trying to minimize casualties. Hide and barricade. All right. Originally, it was just hide, and like I said, tactics and are evolving. Barricade. There's all types of things you can do. They showed examples in there. Moving a copier there, moving a bookcase, a desk. Right. Think about what you have in your areas where you work at right now. What could you use to barricade doors? And those are the thoughts you should have. You should be thinking about. Right. Like I said, don't be hyper vigilant, but be prepared. There's little things that you can do. There's items that you can purchase. Just be a little doorstop from Home Depot or Lowe's. If it's an inward opening door, just putting a doorstop there. They sell all this active shooter stuff. It's really expensive. They call it tactical, and they charge like $100, but you could probably get it at Lowe's, Home Depot, and make it for 20. All right. Door jams. So a lot of these doors have the bars up here. When they open, they have the emergency bars or whatever they are. They fold or whatever. You close that, put a bell around it. It defeats it mechanically. You can't open. There's a lot of things that you can do. Okay. Make sure that if you're going to hide, this is hide and seek for real. Right? Remember in the video, the lady with the red shirt that was freaking out? I probably would have knocked her out. And a couple of you you're sitting here going, I would have knocked her bleep out. Right? I want to survive, lady. If I have to knock you out, I'll knock you out. I don't care. Right? So I ain't having any of that nonsense in there. Okay. Silence your phones. Right? Turn off the lights. Keep quiet. If they don't think anybody's in there, they're going to go to the next target. I hate it for them if that lady in the red dress is in the next room, but you know what? My room's safe. You know what I'm saying? It's about survivability now. And I'm going to say, there's some things I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm going to be very blunt. Do you want to live? All right? That's it. Do you want to live? You want to live a little bit more than the person next to you. Okay? Obviously lock the doors, whatever. If you can call 911, all right, and mute it. We're not maybe mute it, but turn down the volume on it. 911 operators will stay on the phone. So they're going to listen into what's going on. You might not be able to talk, but the 911 operator can hear exactly what you're hearing. That's why you notice that if you ever had listen to any audio tapes from Columbine or stuff, you'll hear the dispatchers talking to the librarian, the teacher that was in there that got killed in there. It still gives me chills listening to it. She stops talking at a certain point because the shooters are coming into the library. Right? But you can call, and that goes for anything. If you're ever scared, let's say you're in an Uber, somebody's freaking you out, the driver or something, right? Turn the phone on, dial 911 and turn it down. All right? Cell phones can be triangulated with GPS, and the dispatchers can hear. Okay, so those just little tips and tricks. Okay. If you have to, remember I said this might be messed up order. All right. If you have to fight, you fight for everything you got. You don't fight fair. It's about who wants to win that day, who wants to go home. All right, and you fight for everything you got. Everybody can help. All right. If you have time to prepare and get a plan, okay, let's say there's 10 of you in a room that we're hiding. All right. And then now the shooter's coming in. All right. It's pretty simple. See these bottles of hand sanitizer? They're better. They're good for all types of things, not just clean your hair. All right. 5 of you pick up the bottle. As soon as they come in, you throw it at them. The other 5, standing off to the side, they each go for a limb or extremity. You don't have to have no jiu-jitsu, karate, kung fu. You don't need to know anything. Everybody just grabs an arm, leg, or head, and you now have that subject controlled. All right? You have no special training. You could be elderly. You could be young. It doesn't matter. Everyone grabs an arm. It's the same tactics and training they use in jails when they have to go do extractions and stuff with inmates and stuff. Everybody grabs the extremity. Right? As they come in and they try to shoot, they're getting pelted with hand sanitizer. And everyone grabs them. Is there a possibility somebody's going to get shot or hurt? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I guarantee you your survivability is higher than if all 10 of you just cowered and did nothing in that room. Someone might get hurt. Own it, accept it. All right? But I guarantee you more are going to survive if you do something than nothing. Because going back to that video from the New Zealand incident, there must have been 25, 30, 40 people in each little corner just piled up. They did absolutely nothing. They got on their hands and knees and turned their back to him and died in the corner. He went back to his car, got another gun, came back, reloaded, and fired more on people in the corner. Anybody he saw moving in the corner. Okay? It's all about survivability. Do what you have to do. All right? Everyone has some kind of basic training, right? Anybody, your military, maybe not civilian contractors, but soldiers. You're a soldier first, right? So you know how to reload a gun. You know what reloading a gun is, right? Perfect opportunity to attack at that point, right? Is when they're reloading. Use that to your tactical advantage. You might be hiding somewhere and he's got a weapon malfunction or she's got a weapon malfunction. Now's the time to bum rush them. Now's the time to take action, okay? Those are type of things that you should think about. Some of the scenarios that we were going to do wasn't going to be full blown, but we're going to kind of demonstrate some of this stuff. And these kind of exercises can be built up. It shows you a little bit more tips and tricks that if restrictions ease later in the year, that we'll come back and we'll help do. If that's what the bosses want, we'll come back and do that. Because there's a lot of things to think about. One of the things we were going to do is, I went through a training for civilians. They made us sit it was a role-playing situation, and they had airsoft guns, and they made all of us sit in this room and not do nothing and just take it. As the bad guy came in and shot all of us. It was the most, as a cop, it was the most uncomfortable feeling in the world, just to sit there and do nothing. I couldn't run, we couldn't hide, we couldn't fight. We just had to sit there and take it. That's how a lot of people get killed in these situations. They do nothing, they freeze. They do the duck and cover underneath the desk. They think that's going to save them. And that's what they used to teach the kids in schools. And how hard is it? Just go and just shoot a bunch of kids. Moving targets a lot harder to hit. Commit to it. All right, the data, the rule of threes. All right. One gunshot every 3 seconds within 3 feet. Every gunshot considered a casualty or death. Think about it. Think about type of gun they're using. What kind of ammo capacity they have. It's a lot of deaths. Handguns were the weapon of choice, contrary to popular belief with ARs. Okay, I'm not going to get political on you, but handguns were the weapons of choice. Hit rate for suspects, 50%. Hit rate for police, 20%. Now, don't laugh at us, okay? If I had anybody lined up in a row, I could get my hit ratio would be a lot higher too. All right. Bad guys don't have to worry about their backdrop. They don't have to worry about hitting an innocent. They don't have to worry about where the round's going. We do. That's why it's important when we're responding. Make yourself as less threat as possible. Get out of the way. Get out of there. Because I might have a perfect shot on an active shooter, but I got a bunch of civilians behind them that I can't take the shot. So it's important. Get out of there. Victims, civilians resolved 2.5 times more incidents than police did. People stepping up and doing the right thing. All right. It's going to take us time, and you're going to see this. 46% of the time, a force was applied by either victims or police to stop an incident. And this is a little bit old data. I didn't find the newest data on this in the newest study yet, but it's relatively the same. 40% of the time it was suicide. And typically the shooter, as soon as they know the cops are there, they'll commit suicide because they're cowards. That's actually changing a little bit. We're actually arresting more of them now because they want to be infamous or they're too scared to take their own lives. 14% no force applies, less than 1% the shooter flees, and so forth. But typically, they do not stop until they're stopped. That's the point. They will continue to shoot until either A, they run out of ammunition, or B, they're stopped. So praying and begging them to stop shooting people is not going to work. The national average for police response, I'm sorry, I do not have COVID. When I'm talking this much, my throat hurts. Right? The national average for police response is for an active shooter is 3 to 6 minutes. And that's national average because we're talking about there's some rural areas in the country, like they're responding lights and sirens for 30 miles to get somewhere, okay? I'm going to tell you in this area, in Pinellas County, Tampa Bay area, the response is going to be within a minute or two, if that. All right. I can get on an app right now. It'll show me every officer from every department in this county and where they're at in their GPSs. And it's the whole area. There's a lot. When something like this happens in this area, we're all coming. Now, we're primary responsible is our jurisdiction, but everybody is coming that's in the area. When the radio call goes out, we're going to come. And the reason why that's good, and I'll get into it later, we all are trained under the same protocol, the same training, everything. We have a countywide protocol that we now follow because of Parkland. We got our act together and got involved to help out with multi-jurisdictional things. The average time after shooting starts, when someone finally calls 911 is 2 minutes. That means shooting starts, boom, boom, boom. It usually takes 2 minutes before someone calls 911. Why do you think that? Anybody? They're running or hiding? I'm going to tell you a lot of times it's denial. Oh, who's letting off firecrackers in the building? I don't know about you, but when's the last time anyone was authorized to use firecrackers in this building? All right? It's denial. It's absolutely denial. Okay? But that's the average. It's 2 minutes. Okay? Now remember, I'm going to show you a little graph here. Okay? 2 minutes to call 911, 3 to 6 minutes for a response. Remember the rule of 3, 1 shot every 3 seconds within 3 feet. We're talking just before I can even get there, me and my partners can get there to help. We're talking it could be maximum 8 minutes just from the 2 minutes for 911 and a 6 minute response time. Okay. Not to mention, is your facility locked down so tight I can't get in and I have to breach? Because a lot of the schools are that way now too. We're telling, we now carry active assailant breaching kits in our car. We kind of made them up, but they're sledgehammers, Halogens, and bolt cutters or whatever, because we might have to break in to get in to help. Okay? So that's a lot of time. 1 shot every 3 seconds within 3 feet. Think about that. All right. So shooting starts at 0. At 2 minutes, 911 call. Police ride 5 to 6 minutes. Then we have to find them. Then we have to find the bad guy. 10 minutes, stop. How many people can be killed in 10 minutes? If they're not trained right, if they're not running, hiding, and fighting. If they're just lining up ducks in a row, how many people can die? A lot. And that's why this is a total war kind of thing where if everyone does their job, we minimize casualties and deaths. What to do when you call 911? All right. Once you're safe, remember, right? Once you're safe, you call 911. Location of where you're at. All right. Be clear and concise. The location, the number of shooters, their descriptions, type of number of weapons, if you know. Pretty simple. Not a lot of people are gun nuts or whatever, right? This is a handgun. A rifle, long gun. Pretty simple. Handgun or long gun? I need to know. Why I need to know that? Because we have different gear in our cars. If it's a handgun, I might bring a ballistic shield in because ballistic shields usually stop handguns. The armor does. A lot of you know that. If it's a long gun, the shield ain't gonna stop it. So I need to bring my long gun. Okay, so that kind of information can help us in our response. Excuse me. Number of potential victims, if you know it. That is also being relayed to the medical side or EMS side. And what do you think that those people are doing? We got to start worrying about transports, right? How many ambulances are we going to need on scene? Right? We need to start alerting trauma centers. Trauma centers can only handle so many gunshot wounds. Right? The logistics of this is incredible. And that's what I'm saying. If we compound this with 50 casualties, it's not going to be pretty. At times, there might only be 18 Sunstar ambulances on duty in the county. Okay? At different times or whatever. I don't know exact number, but there's not an infinite number of resources for us. So we need to lower the amount of casualties. Your location. We need to know your location. If you decide to hide, we want to know that because we're going to find you. And that's the one thing they said, stay hidden until the police find you. Right? Stay hidden until the police find you. So tell the dispatchers that. We're going to get you. It might take a long time because after we stop the shooter, we're going to systematically clear the building. I don't know if there was a shooting up north at a school and it was the cop was at the door going, hey, it's me. And I know there was a bunch of rumors. They thought it was a shooter. It was saying it ended up being, I think it was a cop. And the teacher's like, no, you don't sound like a cop. And they all took off. That's fine. That's fine. But understand, we'll get past that point. If you don't think I'm a cop, all right, you're talking to a dispatcher. They're going to tell you my name and, you know, whatever. I'll slide something underneath the door. We'll figure it out. We'll get you out of there. Okay. At that time, we can take our time, but we'll find you. All right. What to do when we respond? Remain calm. Put down any items. Okay. Could this look like a gun to me under stress? Any of this could look like a gun to me. All right. Do you think I'm going to be a little amped up responding to this? Absolutely. As soon as the radio call comes out, my heart rate's probably at 120. Not mention driving and everything else. Right? So make yourself as non-threatening as possible. Avoid quick movements. Avoid pointing, screaming, and being that girl in the red shirt. Drama is not the time right now. All right? We will debrief you. And I'm sorry if you're wearing a red shirt. I'm sorry. All right. Drama is not the time now. We will debrief as we go. Like as we're passing you, where's the shooter? Where's the shooter? Because doing this training, we could see, I've learned over the years and just other events, I look at their hands, but I also look at their eyes. You can see pure fear, right? And I might go by and I'll ask you, where's the shooter? Where's the shooter at? What kind of guns do you have? Do you know who he is? As I'm passing you and telling you to go the other way, okay? So try to have that information if you can. If you're asked, answer questions. The quicker we can stop this shooter, the quicker we stop the threat, the faster we start saving lives. All right, our role, our number one, our first objective, responding to the scene, is to stop the threat. And they talked about in the video. We're there not to help you evacuate. We're not there to help treat wounded. All right. I want to be very clear with that because tell you a little story. Just we got a little bit. I'm doing pretty good on time. Tell you a little story. Okay, this is a made-up story. I said this story one time to Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and there were some old ladies that thought this was a real story and almost started crying. All right, this is a made-up story. Okay, scenario. It's today, Friday the 4th. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm on duty with my partners back here. We stop at 7-Eleven to get a Monster or a coffee or something, right? All of a sudden, shots go out. The radio call comes in. There's an active shooter at Pinellas Park Elementary. We look at each other. It's me, Jazz, and James over there. Listen, we've all trained together. We know what to do. We all are on SWAT together. Let's go. The three of us will go right now. So we grab our stuff and we head straight into the school. All right. And that's what we're training our officers to do now. We're actually training our officers to go in single response now. We just happen to be 3 of us together. We're not waiting. If I'm by myself, I'm going in. Okay. Because we found out the faster we stop the threat, the faster they stop killing people. And as soon as we confront them and we're not a victim, they either kill themselves or stop, because now their focus is not on you, they're on us. So the faster we can get in there, the faster we start saving lives. So as we go into the school, this administration's there. We see windows are shot out. We see bullet casings everywhere. All of a sudden, I start hearing some moaning in the bushes. I look down, it's a little 6-year-old girl with pigtails. She's been shot in the stomach and she's been shot in the leg. The leg's a bad one because she's bleeding out. Right? I have a tourniquet. I can save her life. But in the background, shots are going on. What are those shots? More casualties, more kids getting killed. I have to leave that little girl there. I have to find the shooter and I have to stop the shooter. Now, what kind of effect is that going to have for that little girl? Cops have been the ones that are supposed to protect them. She's screaming for her mommy and daddy, right? And I have to step over her to keep going. Why do I say that? I want to say that to you because if you're ever that position, that little girl, then you've been hurt and you're screaming bloody murder for me to help you. And I step over you. I haven't forgotten you and I'm not leaving you behind. I have to stop the shooter first. As soon as I can stop the shooter, I can save your life. Don't lose hope. Remember I talked about fear, the unknown? Don't lose hope. We're coming. Help is on the way. Remember I also said at the beginning of this, we have now instituted our techniques and our tactics have evolved. We are now doing what's called Rescue Task Force. So as a team of the 3 of us are going in to stop the shooter, other officers are arriving. They're teaming up with paramedics outside. They're going into the hot zone or the warm zones to start rescuing injured people. We may not have found the shooter yet, but we're sending teams in of officers and medics to start saving people. And we're calling it out as we're going. I got a person down here in the lobby. I got whatever. All this is being relayed back. All right, help is coming. That's why I tell that story, because a lot of people don't realize that, and I don't want you to lose hope. All right, what happens when people lose hope? They lose faith, go into shock, and so forth. Don't. Help is coming. All right, officers going to be wearing all types of stuff, right? And there's an example today, right? There's 2 of us wearing our traditional patrol uniform. Officer Gaddy's a crime prevention officer. He's wearing his uniform. They ride a lot of Segways and stuff. So I don't, Paul Blart kind of stuff. So they wear their own little polos or whatever, right? And then Jazz is our training officer. So he's just wearing using a polo. Right? Obviously, he probably vested up with something, but these you're going to see officers wearing all types of uniforms. You're going to probably see a narc, a vice guy that's got a beard. He looks like an active shooter. He's probably going to be coming in, but there's going to be people coming from everywhere wearing all types of stuff. Okay. Once again, this isn't to talk about us, but it's just to let you know what's going to happen. What to expect after. This isn't an episode of Law and Order. It's done in 47 minutes. This is going to take a lot of time. This is a mass casualty event. This is a major critical incident. There's going to be all types of things. Remember, first thing we got to do is stop the threat. The second thing we got to do, or second objective, is to save lives. Our third objective is going to be it's going to be a big crime scene. All right, so this is going to take a long time. All right, you may, after running or hiding, be sequestered away from everyone because you need to be interviewed because this was a crime, right? So you're not going to be able to go home right away. Right? You're going to be interviewed. You're going to be taken care of. We're going to take care of you. But we got to debrief everybody. We got to make sure that the shooter hasn't mixed back in with the victims. Right? So there's a lot of stuff to go on. So don't think that as soon as you get rescued, you're going to be able to go home to your family. It might not happen that way, right? The stuff you left behind in the building, you might not get for a long time. It's okay. It's just stuff, right? So just remember that, right? The more you know. Maybe I should put that little star that's going across. You're going to see agencies from everywhere. There's going to be uniform command posts. There's going to be all kinds of stuff, SWAT teams, medical, everything, all right? And that's the more resources we can get here, the faster and the more lives that we can save. And that's the one thing that we have done as a county is getting together multi-jurisdictionally to start doing that. All right, some statistics. And this is from the 20-year review. I just pulled it from the FBI's website last weekend, okay? Since 2000, remember I said Columbine was around 99? 333 active shooter incidents. And they classify it, I think it's like more than 2 or 4 people that are shot or something. I can't remember their exact number, but that's how they classify it, an active shooter. Over 2,800 casualties. Right? You guys can see the numbers. Out of 345 shooters, 16 were wearing body armor. They're evolving as well. They're learning from people. They idolize these past monsters. That's why I don't say their names. I don't. They're evil monsters. Right? Genders, typically male, gentlemen. We are messed up. Typical male shooters, right? There have been some female shooters. 119 out of those 333, 119 committed suicide. Remember, they typically don't commit suicide until they're going to get pushed to fight. Right? They're totally in control, killing victims, but they're cowards. As soon as somebody puts up a fight, they kill themselves. 113 of the male shooters committed suicide. 6 of the female shooters commit suicide. All right? That's pretty big, high ratio for the female, considering the low numbers they had. 150 were apprehended by police, and that number is rising. We're arresting more and more of them now, and I don't know exactly why. Like, I think maybe it's notoriety, or they just want to be infamous. I don't know, but we're arresting more of them now. Maybe it's, you know, it was what Gen Z, millennial bad guys, and they're changing. Who knows? I don't know why, but that seems to be that's going up. 67 shooters were killed by police. 4 shooters were killed by civilians, and 5 shooters are still at large. And this is across the country. Now look at these locations. Remember, we always think about active shooter and we think schools, right? We think schools. Not the biggest places of business where we're at right now. 96 of them were in places of business. And usually there's somebody that worked there or somebody is related to somebody that works there. We just had this, a month or 2 ago up at the Hit Promotional. It was like a love triangle thing. And the husband came and shot the boyfriend and his wife in the car, right in the parking lot as people were coming in to go to work, right, Bree? 41 of those businesses are closed to the public. I would consider this closed to the public, right? You have a gate guard. You have to be signed in here. Nobody off the street can just walk in. So that means 41 of them, there was somebody from that business that had authorization to be there. All right. 10 were at malls. Malls are pretty big too. All right. Pretty big things. 18 at colleges, higher institutions. 44 schools pre-K to 12. Those hit the worst because there are little ones. All right. But I would like to see some of these statistics later on as more and more kids are getting this training through the 12 years that they're in school. Because the kids are getting it. The kids they're like in that one video, like I said, the kids are like, I ain't opening that door, and they go out the window. A cop don't say bro like that or whatever he said in the video. You guys remember that? All right. 9 were on military properties installations. I know we went through this a couple of years ago when I first started working with Mr. Free there, where they were walking into recruiting centers and so forth, in military facilities. And then, of course, Fort Hood was like twice now. They've had shootings at Fort Hood. 15 healthcare facilities. We do a lot of stuff with hospitals. It's part of their accreditation stuff. Something that, I know this is there's a lot of medical people here, but when we first started doing this with hospitals, they're like, it's a code silver. I'm like, what's a code silver? Was it the old person get lost or something? And I guess that was their active shooter code. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous because we might be in the ER somewhere with somebody on a call, on a case, and we're hearing code silver, and the cops in the hospital don't know what a code silver is. It didn't make any sense. So I had to come back and we had to relay that to our officers. Like, if you hear this, that's what that code means. Right? Like, you could have had a whole SWAT team in the ER, and there's a code silver, and we have no idea as people are getting killed down the hallway. So think about that with your policies. Right? We use plain talk now. We used to use 10 codes and signals. It's all plain talk now on the radios, just to alleviate those type of problems. Houses of worship. I was talking to Mr. Leonard about this earlier. Like a lot of churches, we do a lot of training with churches. A lot of the deacons and the church congregation are armed now. They're security. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Remember I said you can't stop this. All you can do is mitigate the risks. All right. 50 in the open spaces. The latest one was the biggest one was the Las Vegas one. That was horrifying. That was absolutely horrifying. And that guy was in a fortified location, elevated position, had booby traps, had all cameras, had everything. That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. 13 in residences and 1 in other locations, whatever else that's not in the mix. But just look at those numbers. So the biggest point here that I'm going to bring away from this is this can happen absolutely anywhere. Not just here, wherever. It could be at the Wawa when you're going to get a coffee later or going home on your way home. It could be at Publix. It could be at Target. It could be at Walmart. It could be at the movie theater. It could be at your church. It could be at the daycare facility when you go pick up your kid today. It could be absolutely anywhere. And it can happen to you. Like, I'm not trying to scare you, just total situational awareness. When you go somewhere, know your exits, know where you have some idea of what your plan is, all right, what you're going to do. All right. If you're a concealed weapon carrier, licensed, all for you. Okay. A lot of people ask those questions too. All right. But just remember, when law enforcement arrives, we don't know you're the good guy. So you might want to put that gun down. Okay. So we get a lot of those questions from people that have concealed weapon permits and so forth.